So we are live. Let's see here. Right here. Hi, everyone. By the way, sorry, I just am like, I don't know if anybody else, but I'm not quite awake on this Saturday afternoon. When you get a chance, pop over in the chat and say hello. Let us know that you're here. Hey, Kaylani, how are you doing? We are just getting ready. Catherine and I were going over little troubleshooting things and everything, and Kaylani, I gotta be honest with you, I did not sleep well last night, and so I am a little like Fruit Loopy today. So we're gonna see how this goes. All right. We're gonna let's see here. I think we've got there. It looks like we've got three of oh boy, that needs to be turned. So we've got 3 people in so far. We'll give it another couple of minutes. Kaylani, Catherine, do they need to have, there was a packet that got sent out, so they need to make sure they've got that.
Go ahead. Yeah, grab the packet, grab something to write with.
Right. You just have a nice comfy chair. All right. Okay. And then, let's see here. I don't know if you want to go ahead and, Catherine, and get your screen thing that will be, so we'll be ready to share that.
Okay.
All righty. And so while she's doing that, just want to introduce myself for those of you who don't know who I am. I'm Christina Meade. I am the executive director and founder of the nonprofit Nerdy Girl Success. We work with high school girls, helping them with career exploration, mentorship, and some soft skills training within that career prep. And part of that is this back to school series. We thought it'd be kind of a good idea because this is a unusual year. Any school year has got a a little bit of anxiety attached to it, and this year's really different. So we thought that we would do a back to school series, and I thought stress management would be a really important part to that. And so we have Catherine, who is joining us to help us manage all of that stress. So Catherine, if you could take a minute to introduce yourself to the girls and tell them a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today with Stressless Practical Series. My name is Catherine Trinh, and I am a licensed professional counselor intern, currently practicing at Renewed Hope Counseling Center. My educational background consists of a Master of Science in Clinical Mental Health Counseling from the University of St. Thomas, and I received my bachelor's degree in psychology from Prairie View A&M University. And in my clinical experience, I worked at the Monarch School and Institute for Neurological Differences, and I did some counseling there as well for adolescents to adults. And then I also worked at a nonprofit organization for trauma and crisis counseling with children all the way up to a senior population. So that's a little bit about myself. And let's begin. Are we ready to begin?
I am, but real quick, what I'm going to do is, if it will let me do this real quick, is I'm going to go ahead and turn my...
Sounds like she turned off her microphone. Okay. Oops. So let me just go ahead and get started here. So what are we talking about today? Today we're specifically focusing on stress and stress management. So it is one of the ways that our bodies respond to day-to-day struggles and demands of life. And a little bit of stress can be healthy. It keeps us alert and productive. So for instance, if you're stressed about a test, it alerts us that maybe we need to study. And so it's a sign of caring and is a sign that things matter. However, When we experience too much stress, it can result in serious physical, emotional, and behavioral symptoms. So we are going to be doing a webinar ninja poll, and if you guys can look at the poll on your screen and answer the question of what kind of stressor you are experiencing currently. I know there's a many options that might work for you guys, but pick the one that is most relevant to you at this point in time. So let me close this here for a second. Let's see if we got some responses here. So it looks like there are multiple areas, or wait, let me see here. Mostly social relationships seems to be the most prevalent thing for high school students right now. So, let me move back to my screen here. So back to the different kinds of stressful experiences. It could be academics, it could be bullying, trends, social media, moving or changing schools, getting a new job for the first time, or applying to college, changes in family, like a marriage or divorce, and loss of a friend, family, or loved one. And that can be not just through someone passing, but maybe loss of connection. And then having maybe a new disability or medical condition can be stressful as well. And while these stressors can be difficult, they can often cause fear, anxiety, and depression. And these life-changing events can be predictable or unpredictable. Roles can be transformed, redefined, or left behind for new ones. And then these life experiences can shape the person who we become. So in your packet, I think I left a little space there for notes and things like that. But where it says important, I want you guys to write this down is it is important how we respond and react to these events. Change is typically normal. Even we change our minds whenever we discover new information, which means it's a sign of growth, right? So making choices based on the person who we want to be is very important. So these here are some of the stress symptoms that you might notice about yourself. So we have some physical aspects, some emotional, cognitive, which are more like thoughts, and then behaviors that we do. So when you're looking at this chart, try to notice some of the things that come up for you. What is relevant to you? How do you experience stress? And then looking down at the bottom, you'll see that there's chronic symptoms. So these are long-term consequences of stress. So you might experience heart disease, and this is when we get into serious mental health conditions like anxiety disorders and depression, or even sleep disorders. So in your packet, there on page 3, there's a worry activity. So I want you guys to notice there's a chart there on your packet that says circle your worries in the list below. So what are you experiencing right now in your life? And it might be multiple things. But that way we can acknowledge and address which here are the things that are most important to me right now. And if you go a little bit down, you'll see that you'll need to circle each of the worry symptoms that you experience, kind of like what the chart says. What are some of the physiological responses that you notice about yourself? What comes up for you when these happen? You're trying to bring attention to these symptoms. And at the space at the bottom, is there anything you already do that helps you to control your worry? So sometimes you already have a method of problem solving or coping with some of these stressors. So it's good to know what already works for you. So if you're already doing something like that, continue to do that. And if not, you can enhance that tool or you can learn a new one. So this presentation might help you find different or new kinds of tools to help you cope. So keep that in mind when stress comes up for you. In today's presentation, we're going to discuss these typical stress areas for helpful tips to cope and manage with stress. So goal setting, time management, how to deal with class and workload, how to deal with parents, caretakers, and mentors, how to deal with social pressures and social media. So in goal setting, I like to use SMART goals. They're like acronyms, and this helps me, write my goals for the year. So first, you want to target a specific goal. Target what you want to work on or improve. For instance, I want to make straight A's. So that is very specific. The second thing you'll need to do is make it measurable. How do you know that you've made progress? Whether it's looking at a progress note or possibly noticing what your homework grades are like, and then focusing on the areas that you think that you might to focus more on or lacking learning in. Make sure you make your goals achievable. Is it realistic with the resources available? Sometimes you have these huge projects, but maybe you have a budget and you can't spend a lot of money on supply and material. So kind of work with what you already have. Is the goal relevant? What is the meaning that you chose this goal? And does it match your personal beliefs and values? It's important to set goals that are based on your beliefs and values because it makes it more focused and more meaningful to you. And lastly, make the goal time-bound. Set a deadline. Why is it important to have a deadline? You can anticipate the due date. You can manage your time appropriately. And it helps with the follow-through of your goals. Which brings us to how easy it is to lose track of time. So with time management, I have included a template for you to fill out your own personal tentative schedule. And tentative just means that it's like a trial. It might not stick. Things might change, so it can change and be flexible over time, depending on what activities you get into. So here's an example of what I used for myself when I was in school. I would plan these time slots of, I know I'm going to be here. This is what I'm going to do. So planning out your weekly schedule to the best of your abilities is very important. I think I left a name for you, a namespace for you guys. I think naming your schedule is important because you're taking ownership and responsibility for your plan. Not only that, it lets others know this is your plan and they can help keep you accountable for it. And by doing this, you know what to expect. You have time to prepare and you're more focused. And don't forget, so there's some white spaces in my schedule. Those spaces typically are my recreational time, my downtime. This is where you can schedule your breaks. It's so important to schedule breaks to reward yourself, recover, maybe exercise, grab a snack, things like that. And of course, do some reality testing. How do you know it won't work if you haven't tried? So maybe you come in with this idea and you have planned your schedule and it doesn't work out. That's okay. Then you can make adjustments and then test it out again to see what works best for you. So a little light humor here. I don't procrastinate. I intentionally wait until the last minute because then I will be older and therefore wiser. So many might believe this to be true. However, psychologists have researched learning, memory, and retention for over 100 years and found that cramming does not promote long-term memory. So what does this mean? It means that you might know about the subject temporarily, but your brain will not be able to retrieve that information in the far future. So you might have to relearn it all over again. And since you're already spending all that time learning it the first time, it's important to make it count. So how do you manage all the classwork and the workload? The first thing I would say is to stay organized. You can keep a planner, have a method for where all your homework is due in one place. Maybe do them right away, even if it's not due the next day, so that way you have time to correct any mistakes. Ask for help. There are no wrong questions, and that's what teachers are there for. So raise your hand in class. And by doing that, that's what learning is all about, is asking those kinds of questions. Find tutoring schedules. Tutoring is free at school, and I know for a fact that teachers have to offer these to students. So get in there and get your free resources. Or you can learn from a peer who knows. Sometimes we learn in different ways, and it's better explained by a different kind of person. So you can always build friendships through that. Distributed practice. Break up studying into multiple sessions. I typically use a timer. I don't work any longer than 45 minutes at a time. It's very hard to keep your focus by doing that. So maybe work 45 minutes, take a 15-minute break, use the restroom, grab a snack, maybe check your messages, or if you have time to do a short exercise like stretching. But if you work straight through, you'll get burnout. It's going to make it harder to concentrate. It's going to make it difficult for you to you'll have difficulty with memory. Your work will get sloppy. Maybe you'll make more mistakes, and then you'll lose interest faster, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of following through and executing an assignment. Using repetition mnemonic devices like SMART goals. I like to make flashcards, or I practice it daily. So another thing you can do is to review things learned at the end of the day. Kind of do like a little summary to keep you really fresh in the moment. Get rest. So important. Memory crystallizes in your sleep. So while you have all these short-term memories or working memory, when you sleep, it actually starts to build and transfer and get stored into long-term memory when you sleep. Use mental rehearsals. Write it again, say it out loud, teach it to someone else. I can't tell you how many times I've practiced this presentation before actually doing this, you guys. So make sure you know you're using different modes of visual, auditory, and kinesthetics. And kinesthetics are like body, muscle memory types of ways to do memory. So let me show you a quick video here. Let's see. On how all that plays together. Visual, kinesthetic.
Ag, helium, Li, lithium, Na, sodium, Z, and zinc. Uncle Phil, please, do you mind turning the music back on? I'm trying to study.
All right, let me close this here and back to our slideshow here. So the next topic we're talking about is how to deal with parents, caretakers, and mentors. We value the people in our lives. It's important to us to, make them proud. It's completely normal for that. But sometimes it can be overwhelming and stressful, especially if we fail to meet some of those goals. So it's important to develop a support system of people you feel safe and trusted with. These are the people that you can talk to. These are the people that will listen and try to understand and maybe help you problem solve as well. Share your goals with them. Part of your success is having other people invested into your goals as well. Understand each other's expectations. What is your role as a child, a teen, an emerging adult? And what is their role as a parent, caretaker, and mentor? So what are y'all's beliefs about being in these roles? And can y'all come to an agreement on those goals and expectations and explore these together? Share when you're having a hard time before it gets too big. So you can use this time to ask for help. You can problem solve together. You might not have to do everything on your own to problem solve. And then if by doing this, when the problem's small, it gives you more time to recover before it becomes something so big and enormous. Celebrate achievements together. Recognize when something good happens. Sometimes we get too hard on ourselves and we forget to celebrate our achievements. So it's important to recognize the good as well. Get enough sleep. Here's that again. Sleep affects our emotions. So you don't want to start off in a bad mood. Give yourself distance and retreat to a safe space. Sometimes conversations get heated. It's better to cool off before having those really tough discussions. But before you walk out, it's important to let the other person know that you need a moment to collect your thoughts. And you can use that time to maybe write down some things. It helps to deliver a message clearer, and then you'll have more patience to work through the problems when you're calm. Offer a solution. By doing so, it shows that you're already thinking about what they might have said. It shows that you're capable of problem solving. And you're taking on an active role rather than a passive role. So you have ideas of what to do about it. Encourage parents, caretakers, and mentors to practice self-care. Sometimes they get busy as well and overwhelmed. So they might forget to take care of themselves, and that in turn might affect you. So maybe give them ideas to take a break, or you can help or volunteer when you can to make them feel less stressed, like asking them what they need at the moment. And maybe it's just, I just need 5 minutes of just silence right now, or, something, or I just need a break. So asking is very important. And then to remember to take a deep breath. Slow your body responses down to keep your mind calm and to respond in a healthy way. So our next topic is social pressures, how to deal with social pressures. This seems like very, very common. So as we noticed earlier in our poll, that social relationships have been probably the most stressful thing to navigate in your teen years. So the one thing is to pay attention to how you feel. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Notice your own stress cues. So kind of like the activity we pointed out earlier, some of the symptoms that were coming up for you personally. Those are clear signs that it's probably not a good idea. Plan ahead. Think about how you're going to respond to different situations. Plan what you can say or do. Tell the person pressuring you to stop. That might be one way. Have a secret code to communicate with parents, caretakers, and mentors. So something you can say or text to them that lets them know you need out of a situation is helpful. I used to have a code with my parents when I felt really uncomfortable, and I would just send them a message and they would come and scoop me up. So, just developing something like that with them, and then maybe they can send you a text message or call and tell you, hey, you need to come home, or they can come pick you up. Give an excuse. It should be okay to say no without needing to apologize or give an explanation, but it will make it easier to say no if you already have a reason behind it. Have friends with similar values and beliefs. It's easier to say no when there's a bigger group, if someone else is also saying no as well. And saying no together makes it easier for the other person as well. So it's like helping out a friendship. You guys are both agreeing on this, and then it's I'm helping you and you're helping me. We're backing each other. And if all fails, get support from a trusted adult, such as a parent, teacher, or a school counselor. So this brings us to our next webinar ninja poll. We want to know, what do you use social media most for? And I'll give you guys a moment to respond to that. Okay. Keeping up with friends. Here. So it sounds like keeping up with friends is the most popular way of using social media. However, before we begin with some of the ways to deal with the stresses of social media, I wanted to discuss some of the negative and harmful experiences of social media. One is the exposure to violent or other inappropriate material. Maybe there's a failure to protect identity and safety measures that lead to predators. And we've seen that a lot surfacing lately in the news. Vulnerable to cyberbullying, harassment, and judgment that affects self-esteem. This very much is a source of where people might want to get opinions and things like that. So you're making yourself vulnerable to that. Social media does have addictive uses resulting in emotional, social, and physical harm. You might be stuck online for so much that you forget to grab a bite to eat or exercise. Frustration brought on by too much information, false information, and controversy. This is the part where, it might tempt you to engage in negative behavior. So you might sit there and argue for hours at a time over controversial topics. Or you might use it for plagiarism. So if you notice at the bottom of my slides, I have included credit for people's work and research. And social media makes it difficult to multitask and devote attention to project completion. So again, this is where most of you might fall into loss in time management because you're spending most of your time on social media. So how do we decrease social media stress? For one, limit time for usage. Use a timer. I'm telling you, the timer works so much, for me at least. It's like a ding, it goes off, and I'm like, okay, great. I can shift and do something different because I've been spending this much time doing this. Maybe you have messages. You don't have to respond to them right away. You have a life to live after all. Limit platforms that you use. So there's so much to keep up with out there. And if you think it's too much for you to keep up with, chances are that is another thing that's also stressing you out as well. So limiting the platforms that you use. Protecting your private information, your address, social security number, phone number, credit card information. There's people out there ready to con you, ready to take advantage of you online. Not just that, but limiting your personal life information. Sharing too much about your personal life can cause a lot of relationship problems. People start twisting your words. Maybe they are misinterpreting them. And then having too many people involved in your issues, and that gives others a space to judge you. So limiting that is very important to reduce stress. Block people. Not everybody has to be your friend. And do not use social media to seek validation. Do not use this as a baseline for you to compare yourself to others. There's people that are fake online all the time. So this is not a valid source of seeking validation. However, there are some positive benefits of using social media, like internet resources and tools for learning, achievement, and creativity. Social development with close friends, kind of like what you guys are mentioning. I use it to keep up with my friends, to keep casual connections with people, network online, finding like-minded people and mentors. Users can become skilled in expressing themselves and contributing to interactive devices like email support and charity. Maybe you have a cause or that you believe in, some sort of thing that you're very passionate about, and it's really good to use that kind of resources to let other people know about charity work or any of your culture. Promote assistance in navigating college, education, and career exploration. So I'm going to show you guys another video, and these are ways to help deal with the school year. Some tips for you guys. Here.
Number one, the more you invest in your physical health, the better your mental health. So that means teachers and students are both well rested, that they have nourished their bodies, and also that they have invested some time in exercise, in movement of some kind. Number two, we're looking at setting reasonable limits. So that might look like something for teachers leaving at the end of the day. When your time is up and you've set that limit, go home and spend some quality time with your pets or your family. And for students, it's things like knowing when you've learned all you can learn. A lot of students go back and they try and do all their homework and they're spending hours and hours, and what we know is that that's not effective either. Number three is practice mindfulness. So mindfulness is really bringing attention to the present in a very non-judgmental way. We live in a digital world where our heads are always in technology, and sometimes we're not reflective on what's actually happening around us. So some mindfulness techniques might be mindful meditation, and this does not have to be, 30 minutes of uninterrupted sitting silently. We're really talking about a couple of minutes can make a huge impact. Number four for me is get a hobby. If we can do something that we are passionate about or that we love or that brings us that joy, those times that are busy and hectic and scary for some of us are much easier to handle. Number five, I think that we are so caught up in what the grade looks like. What is our level? What is our mark? That we forget that the most essential part of the learning process is what we learn and how we grow. And if we can start to take the emphasis off of the mark and really focus on how I as a person grew from whatever it was that I was doing, I will have a lot more value and the stress will be lower.
Which brings us to different ways to cope. So we have physiological responses. So those are like the stress cues that you might experience. So learning how to control our body responses. On page 5 of your packet, I have included diaphragmatic breathing exercise that you can use to help calm you down, maybe before a very stressful situation. Like for me, I did this before I did the presentation, or you can do it if you're having a stressful moment and you need to calm yourself down. Muscle relaxation training and imagery and visualization exercises are helpful as well. Thoughts and emotions. So develop ways to control your emotions and then change the way you think. So looking at a situation as it's not all good and not all bad, or not all right or all wrong. Consider maybe a middle position, and changing that anything less than perfect is unacceptable. Look for more progress rather than perfection. Don't jump to conclusions without all the facts and evidence. Try to not interpret things as much worse than it is. Think of it, is this situation able to be fixed? Is it possible to fix? If so, then maybe I might not want to stress as much. And then stop excessively blaming yourself or others when things don't happen as planned. Life can throw curveballs all the time. So it's important to try to be flexible and adapt to a situation. And here's how we respond and react. It's so important to think about things before, following through with any kind of action. So choosing your words after much thought. Thinking of consequences or outcomes of a response or reaction. So is it safe? Is it goal-oriented? Is the outcome that you desire? Be honest and clear. Provide solutions. Sometimes the best way to minimize a problem is to give a solution and give multiple ideas. So you have more choices to choose from. And, you're shifting your focus from a problem to problem solving. So that way you can recover quickly from a mistake. And once you've decided on a solution, an acceptable solution, actually do it. You can come up with all these great ideas, but if you don't actually execute the solution, you haven't really solved anything. So more ways to cope. On your packet, I've also included in the diaphragmatic breathing, you might find a grounding technique, and that's just basically placing your feet flat on the ground. It keeps you in the present moment. I've had some clients use Calm app. It's an application you can download on your phone, and you can use it for sleep, meditation, and relaxation. It helps teach you some of those skills. The here and now stone. So I have a stone. You can use a gem, a crystal, anything like that. And I gave you an exercise on your packet to help you use this as a grounding tool. So this is something small. You can keep it in your pocket at all times. You can take it out when you're feeling stressed and then focus your energy on some of those exercises with the stone. Exercise and do physical activity. By doing so, you are regulating the amount of stress levels in your body on a daily basis. You're training your parasympathetic nervous system to be in kind of like a homeostasis or like a balanced order. Prayer. If somebody's spiritual or religious, prayer is so helpful. I use prayer sometimes, and I find it to be very calming. And if all fails, you can talk to someone, to speak to someone that you trust or a counselor. In addition, I've also included 3 different kinds of mandalas for anyone who loves art or is wanting to try something new as a relaxation technique. So these are mandalas, and a study has shown that using mandala coloring has found some indication that physiological markers of anxiety, typically like increased heart rate, decreases after mandala coloring. So this is like another way that you can really channel some of your stress and energy. And then it's also a creative outlet. And lastly, self-care. Healthy lifestyle behaviors improve your overall mental health. So take care of yourself. Use positive talk. Be kind to yourself. No one is perfect, so be forgiving and flexible to yourself. Compliment yourself at times. And then also recognize some of your strengths and talents. And, choosing a self-care exercise or any activity that you like, make sure it's intentional and that you make time for that, specifically for that, without interruption of anything else. And choose things that you enjoy. So that concludes our workshop for today, and I will take any questions right now. Let me close this here. Let's look at some of the questions you might see here. Looks like Anna Richardson does use the Calm app, so I'm glad that there's other people out there using it as well. Does anyone have any questions? Specific questions on or any concerns that you might want me to address? Y'all can use see here. Open.
I was just gonna reiterate, if you haven't tried doing meditation or even yoga. I mean, I'm not really good at yoga, but taking that time and starting out the day like that, I have noticed that those days that I do that, I actually get through the day a lot more focused, and I'm actually able to more easily deal with like stressors that come up. I notice that I'm a little bit more calm when reacting to them versus the days that I don't. I tend to get more frazzled when challenging situations come up if I don't start my day with that. So if you aren't doing it, and I mean, you don't have to go to a yoga studio or anything like that. I can't even remember, I Googled, yoga for beginners on YouTube, and there's tons of free ones. And just like what you were talking about, Catherine, with meditation, it doesn't need to be, a really long time. It can just be like 10 minutes or so. That's the same thing with that yoga. I mean, they're 10, 15 minutes. So it doesn't take a lot of time to do that. And it really is very beneficial. So wait a second. I think you're muted, Catherine.
It looks like we have a question. Are there any other good techniques for improving concentration and memory? Yes. So repetition and writing, using different modes. So By using auditory, saying it out loud, by writing it, that's a visual component of it, or you can use like a visual aid and things like that. You are tapping into different brain cortical areas of your brain that reignites that memory for you. So if you have more connections to that memory, it's easier to retrieve. So repetition using flashcards would help. I always find it very helpful to also do it with other people, like teaching other people makes you have to master the material as well, so that way you can deliver the message more clearly.
I was even going to say, like, within that, like something as simple as walking around your room while you're reading your notes out loud helps get that, like, that actually makes that connection with the body and the mind, and helping get that information into those memory banks a little bit better.
Yeah.
Like when I was teaching, that's one of the things that we would do in our study hall, is have people actually, like, the physical act of writing it and saying it out loud while you're writing it. And then we would actually take laps around the room while we were reading something or asking and answering questions. So
yeah, and that's probably what Will Smith was trying to do, was trying to tap into the kinesthetic memory there. So I always find that sleep has been very helpful to memory. You know, people say that it's seriously underutilized. I think sleeping and resting has a lot more benefits than sitting there for hours cramming and cramming and stuff like that. So study, then take a moment to relax, take a nap or anything like that. That really crystallizes the memory and it gets pushed and stored into long-term memory. There's a book that I could recommend to you guys too, if any of you guys are readers. This is the A Game, so it's 9 steps to better grades, and it gives you some techniques and things like that on how you can successfully work with memory or plan your day and your schedule and things like that. I always find it also helpful that if you have a choice to sit anywhere in the classroom, that it's important to sit closer to the front, because those are the people that usually care about the lesson. You can hear better, you can see things better. And then the people in the back kind of keep things like, distracting and stuff like that. Or I'm a small person, so I'm short and I always have a hard time looking over taller people. So that's why I always try to get to the front. Does anyone have any other questions at this time? Here, we got anything in the chat too? Okay.
see anything? Oh, here's another question. Let's see here.
I also have another book that anybody who plans to go to like medical school route, and this is where I actually borrowed some of that time management stuff. It's called Study Without Stress. I don't see it. Mastering Medical Sciences. So I before I even made that tentative schedule, I had the experience of calculating how much time do I spend doing XYZ activities. So they give you like a little chart you can photocopy, and I would record, okay, I spent this much time watching TV, or I spent this much time sleeping, or doing my hair, doing like cooking, X, Y, and Z, right? And I found that most of the time that I had wasted throughout my day was watching TV or sleeping. I would sleep more than 8 hours, so I could have used that time in a more productive way, and definitely maybe have done maybe exercised or some extra studying or something like that. So I think this book is really helpful.
So Anna Richard, I was going to say, I don't know if you saw, but Anna asked if there were any other good self-help book recommendations that you have.
Yeah, this was one of them.
Oh, that was okay.
Yeah, this is the Study Without Stress, and then the A Game, 9 Steps to Better Grades. If you're having issues maybe in communication There's books even, for parents, and it's called The Explosive Child. It really changes the pattern of communication in the household. So it's a new approach to understanding and parenting, and people who are constantly frustrated and stuff, you're just changing the dialogue. So those are some really good books there.
Very cool. Now let's see if there's any others.
Let's give them a moment.
Any others right there. Well, while they are potentially thinking of some and typing up their other questions, just real quick to let you guys know, this is the second workshop in the series of our back to school series, and helping you guys with managing school year and just like the unusual school year that we are having this year. So the last one, we've got a third one in the series, and it's on time management. We see here Catherine is putting up, and I'll share it here so that way you guys can see the link for it. So it's on a Saturday, September 26th at 1 o'clock Central Time. And right there is the link to go and register for it. But it's going to be sharing some techniques and things like that for helping you manage your time. I think it's really important, especially as students. We don't really feel like we have a lot of control over our time. And that's really true. I mean, you don't have control over when you go to school and lots of other things, but you can get control of what time you do. And that can really also then turn around and help reduce the stress levels that you guys are having. We're also going to be, encouraging girls to watch the movie Radioactive. It's on Marie Curie's life. It's available on Prime Video. And then we're going to be talking to a scientist. She's a cytogeneticist that we are going to be speaking with on the 19th. And so there's the link to get registered for that. And then as always, we've got the free Nerdy Girl Success membership, where you've got career exploration mentorship. We've got other workshops and resources for you that's available there. And just to let you know, what we're going to be doing is after that time management workshop, it'll start in October, but we are going to be doing some follow-ups as some support in small groups. So with Catherine and a couple other ladies, where and I don't know if you guys can hear my dog howling in the background, so sorry. But we're going to be like once in 6 weeks, just kind of checking in. If you want to have a little support group or whatever, where you can check in and ask questions about your stress management, your time management, reaching those goals and that kind of thing. So we're going to be doing that throughout the school year, and that will be available only to those that are a part of the Nerdy Girl Success membership. So right there is the link for getting enrolled in that. So see here, I don't see any other questions. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Catherine, thank you so much, so much for doing this. There's a lot of really good information. I know that I was over here taking down notes as well when you were presenting, so thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Oh, you're on mute still.
Thank you for having me as well. That was, I'm grateful to be able to present this, and I know that these are some really strange times that we're adjusting to, so I think it was really important for me to share this information with our youth. So
absolutely. Let's see here, there's something. Kaylani, Anna says thank you. Kaylani says thank you so much. This was really helpful. I'm going to use these tips when school starts. So yay, awesome. I'm glad that this was helpful, ladies. You have an amazing rest of your weekend, everyone. And this is going to be available on a replay as well. I think you'll get an email with it, plus it'll get over into the online membership. So you guys have a great weekend. See you later. Bye.
Bye.